This video was brought to you in part by SD Bullion.
At SD Bullion, our everyday low prices are already lower than the big boys' so-called flash sales. One of the fastest growing bullion companies in the country, SD Bullion, just claimed a spot on the prestigious Inc. 500. So you have to ask yourself, why haven't you joined over 30,000 new customers who've recently made the switch to SD Bullion for the lowest gold, silver, and platinum bullion prices? To learn more, go to www.sdbullion.com and enjoy the lowest prices in the precious metals industry, period.
Hey everyone, I just launched a new website, financeandliberty.com. Please follow the link in the description of this video and subscribe to our free newsletter, where you can keep up to date with all our original interviews, along with some of the best financial videos and articles from the web. Hey everyone, this is Elijah Johnson with financeandliberty.com, and back with us today is Rob Kirby from KirbyAnalytics.com. Rob, thank you so much for joining us today.
Pleasure to be with you, Elijah, and just want to say congratulations to you and your fellow countrymen. A great victory for humanity and for the good people of the United States of America last night with the election of Donald Trump.
Definitely, and the Trump win last night really pretty much left me speechless. I was looking at the news and couldn't believe what was happening. You know, beforehand I was saying I think it's very possible that he could win and there would be this upset, but in my heart of hearts, I was very concerned that Hillary Clinton would end up winning. But I was just speechless and couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was constantly thinking, am I dreaming? Am I dreaming? No, I'm not. This is reality. And I think it left a lot of people also, you know, in the mainstream speechless as well. It was just an amazing night last night. I guess just what is your initial reaction to the Trump win?
My initial reaction was I was quite amazed that it actually happened too, because I'm very aware that there was a considerable amount of fraud in the results that we ultimately saw. My true guess is if the fraud hadn't been committed, we probably would have seen Donald Trump win by a much wider margin. But we know that there was widespread incidences of with the machine voting, machines flipping votes from Trump to Clinton. We do know that because as revealed in the WikiLeaks I believe it was actually the Project Veritas releases, we're very aware that the Democratic apparatus were busing people from jurisdiction to jurisdiction to have multiple votes in different jurisdictions to try and pad their win. And it's also noteworthy that there were no incidences reported anywhere of Clinton votes being flipped by machines to Trump. And so it's amazing that Trump probably won. And I can only say that his win was a landslide victory, and the fraud made it look close. And but you know what? It's nice to see that justice has prevailed, and the rightful winner was declared last night, and Trump is going to be your new president.
Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing if you look back at this whole campaign. You know, in the summer of 2015, Donald Trump announced his candidacy. I thought it was a joke. Almost everyone else thought it was a joke. People were laughing about it. And he just kept winning and winning. He defied all odds. He defied the media. The other thing is that everyone was against him. The Republican establishment even was against him. The Democrats, the media, everyone was against him, but he defied all odds. What is your perspective on that?
Well, my perspective on it is that the Democrats really beat themselves. I mean, listen, Hillary Clinton was not favored by her own party. Hillary Clinton stole the Democratic nomination from Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders had grassroots appeal, and it's very likely that it was the Bernie Sanders disgruntled Bernie Sanders supporters who very likely were who tipped the table in favor of Trump, because these people knew that the Clinton machine stole the vote or the nomination from their man with the superdelegates. I mean, Hillary Clinton did not win the popular vote in California. Clearly, Bernie Sanders was the favored candidate in the state of California for the Democratic nomination. But these globalist, elitist clowns who run the Democratic Party apparatus, they felt that they knew better than their grassroots, and they were hell-bent on having Hillary Clinton as their representative. And as a result, they pay the ultimate price because their candidate in the end did crash and burn.
So what do you think this shows us about the legitimacy of the mainstream media? If everyone was betting against Trump, the polls were showing that Trump was not going to win. Hillary was 3 points ahead in the average of polls. What is your perspective on going forward, the legitimacy of the mainstream media and the polls? Are those basically just discredited now?
In my view, the biggest loser in this, the bigger losers than Hillary Clinton, are the mainstream press. CNN is a disgrace. The NBC's, CBS's, ABC's, the New York Times, the Washington Post. These organizations have been shown to be the shill propagandists that they really are. Their financial results, because I believe it was last week that it was the New York Times that put out quarterly results, and I think their profit was 95% down from where it was this time last year. They've lost their base. Their credibility and their position in our society is in shambles and is a shadow of what it used to be. And you know what? It's high time that this occur. And of course, this on the flip side of the plunge in popularity and credibility of the mainstream dinosaur entities that I just named, we've seen the meteoric rise of Drudge. We've seen the meteoric rise of Infowars.com and Alex Jones, who was labeled by all as a wacko conspiracy theorist. And all I can say is that I don't agree with everything that Alex Jones has to say, but let's just say in the last 10 years, he's been infinitely more correct than any of the mainstream news outlets that I've just named just minutes ago. So, I applaud real journalism. I applaud investigative journalism. And isn't it good to know that the internet, which was created by the establishment for the establishment, has fallen into the hands of we the people, and we the people are using it, for the enlightenment of the masses. And you know what? I applaud that.
No, what do you think this means for globalism? I know when I've interviewed you in the past, you said that a Trump victory would be very destructive to globalism, if not the death of globalism. What is your view right now?
Globalism, in my view, has very likely been set back at least 50 years with the election of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is on the record and is very vocal about his non-support for trade agreements which have been ruinous to economies in the West. He's said he wants to take a look or reopening or adjusting the North American Free Trade Agreement. He wants to have no part of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which the which the Obama administration was trying to fast track and have America be a part of. And these trade agreements, lest anyone get the wrong picture about what's being discussed or what's being said here, these trade agreements are not trade agreements, and they have really got very little to do with trade. What these trade agreements are all about, and at their core, you'll notice that they're all negotiated in secret, and they're all negotiated out of sight, with no debate. These trade agreements are never debated in the Congresses or in the parliaments of the signatories to them. These things are negotiated in secret, and then they are basically introduced with an up or down vote, or just instituted through executive orders, and we're signed on to them. And what they do, more than talking about trade, what they do is they usurp the sovereignty of the signatories to them. The countries that sign on to these trade agreements lose their sovereignty, and it's ceded to multinational, unelected corporate boards. And these unelected corporate boards are then free to adopt, adapt, and make change to these agreements, these treaties, at their own will. And it literally takes the power to guide a country. It takes that power out of the hands of the elected representatives and puts it in the hands of multinational corporatists who don't have the best interests necessarily ever of the countries who are signatories to them in mind. So here, isn't it nice that the globalist movement, which is in itself anti-human, it's eugenics-based, the globalists as a group have contempt for humanity, and this group as a whole is seeking to establish one world currency, one world religion, one world government, and they want the population of this planet, if they have their way, they would like the population of this planet, instead of being 7 billion that it is today, their goal is to have the population of this planet 500 million, which means 6.5 billion of us are gone. So isn't it nice and refreshing to see that such a movement has had such a severe roadblock now put in its way?
So looking forward for Hillary Clinton and the people around her and Obama, where do you see their future lying under Trump administration? Do you think Trump will, for example, reopen the investigation into Hillary Clinton's private email server and, appoint an independent prosecutor? And do you think Clinton could actually be going to jail?
Well, if we just take Donald Trump, at his word, he has said that he would like to see a special prosecutor investigate the doings of Hillary Clinton. So, my feeling is that going forward, she may have some very, very, very serious legal issues facing her, and at the end of the day, probably that would be, and not to be vindictive, but it would be a nice thing to see, because there should be an example made of what happens when you commit the clear and obvious crimes that Hillary Clinton has committed. I mean, listen, her own choice of her own crony, who heads the FBI, made indicting remarks about her, but then refused to recommend she be indicted. So, let the chips fall where they may, and let justice, be rendered. And I do believe that justice will be rendered, and I think that everybody and it's a big crowd of people around Hillary Clinton are going to be facing some very, very difficult legal challenges in the very near future.
Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about the acceptance speech by Trump and the concession speech by Hillary Clinton. Last night, actually it was early this morning when Trump gave his acceptance speech, I think it was extremely respectful. I think it was a contrast to a lot of, he's been very brash throughout this campaign. I think he gave an amazing speech. He talked about the division in America that we see and the need to unite America. Regardless of our differences, we need to unite behind the will of the people. And I think Trump really spoke to that last night. And I guess, what is your perspective on Trump's acceptance speech and also Clinton's concession speech that she gave just earlier today?
I would agree with your characterization of Trump's acceptance speech in the wee hours of this morning as statesmanlike, and maybe Donald Trump has a little bit of statesman in him. He's pretty quick on the uptake. I do believe him to be a very, very smart man, and I do believe him to be a very, very balanced individual in terms of doing what's right and what's fair. Hillary Clinton, on the other hand, I would characterize her concession speech, if you can call it a concession speech, as basically the embodiment of what she has demonstrated throughout this campaign. The bitterness of an old hag who likes to fashion herself and put forward a picture of her being the champion of women and of feminists, and frankly, she is a very poor example of either of those two things. She's not the champion of women. She's not the champion of kids. There are allegations and a whirlwind of incriminating emails that says that she's involved in everything from Satanist practices to involvement with pedophilia stuff, which is beyond sickening. And that's something she's going to have to square with her own conscience, and very possibly with legal repercussions as they go forward. But all I can say is good riddance to her.
Now, one other thing I'd like to discuss with you is about the markets. Last night, as the results were coming in, and it started to look like Trump was going to win, and then it was practically certain that Trump was going to win, the Dow futures collapsed. They went down about 700 points. And gold was also up. But then if you look this morning, the Dow is up and the gold is down. What happened here?
Well, gold's not down yet, but I mean, let's say yet, but it's way off its highs. And of course, the Dow futures, I saw them down at one point down 750 points, and now the Dow Jones this morning is up. As I'm looking at the TV set right now, up 170 points. So we've seen a swing of about 900 points plus in the fortunes of the Dow in just a few short hours. And gold at one point last night was up, I think, $65 or thereabouts, and now I think it's up $5 or $6 now. So it's been slammed back into its. And I would say this might be what we've just witnessed. Might be one of the last hurrahs for the good folks over at the Exchange Stabilization Fund, and or as some people would call the edifice that manages our markets, the Plunge Protection Team. And I've got a sneaking suspicion that the days of the blatant, reckless interference in our capital markets by the folks at the Exchange Stabilization Fund might be on their last legs, because I don't think Donald Trump is going to be too cozy with the interference in our free markets. And I would say that the boys can start counting their days till this interference is going to be put to an end. That's my feeling on this. That's what my gut's telling me on this. And of course, we'll just have to sit and wait and see how this plays out over the next number of days and weeks. My feeling is that the bankers are gonna know in short order that this kind of activity is going to be coming to an end, and I think you can probably it would be a reasonable expectation that the banks who have these enormous short positions in the precious metals, for one, might be looking to let's just say wind those short positions down, and the implications this could possibly have for the dollar could be that the dollar comes under some kind of pressure in the very near future as well. So I think we're in for some very, very profound change in our capital markets in the very, very near future. Definitely. It seems like this manipulation, it's been, creating the perception that the economy's fine, the stock market's fine, and the dollar's fine, but in reality it's not. And yes. And understand this: the reason why this interference was being done to make everything appear fine, as you stated, is because to continue the globalist agenda, things had to appear normal. And with the globalist agenda now being, not the working model any longer, the impetus to have everything appear 100% normal has basically evaporated. At least that's the way I would have it. And it'll be interesting to see how it actually plays out. I mean, at the end of the day, Elijah, the rotten, corrupted, compromised, derelict mainstream edifice press is not going away overnight. They are still here. They still have reach. They have a certain amount of reach. Are they discredited? Sure, but they still have the ability to reach a lot of people. So I think change comes. I think it comes rather quickly relative to what we've been subject to over the past number of years, and but it will take a bit of time for things to change, and things will change and will get different, and I do believe in very short order. Now, do you see this transition being painful? I know you said that the dollar could come under pressure. What about like the stock market also? It's almost like the economy, it's a drug addict right now. We're going to take the economy off of drugs. It's going to be painful, but when we reemerge, it'll be for the better. I believe so. Donald Trump is on notice, or is put, I believe, is let's just say he's not exactly Federal Reserve friendly. He's been very critical of the Federal Reserve, and to the extent that the Federal Reserve has been dictating, or to a lot of people's minds, the Federal Reserve has been dictating low interest rates and has been propping up markets. I mean, my personal view is that much of this comes at the insistence of the Exchange Stabilization Fund and the U.S. Treasury. My view is that it's the Treasury that really controls the markets through the Exchange Stabilization Fund, and it's the Fed that just ferrets the orders of the Treasury out to the free market, and the banks that actually do the heavy lifting. But I mean, I don't believe that Donald Trump is going to be okay with the manhandling of markets by officialdom, whether it's the Treasury or whether it's the Federal Reserve. So I look for big changes in that kind of activity in the very near future. All right. Well, Rob Kirby, thank you so much for joining us today. Before we let you go, did you want to share any last thoughts with our viewers and where they can find you online? We can find me online at kirbyanalytics.com, and all I can say is that I think that this is an amazing development for the betterment of mankind, and I'm so very, very happy that America has made what I believe is the best choice they could have made under the circumstances, and I do believe that America has a fighting chance to right their house now. And prior to the election of Trump, I wasn't feeling so confident that would ever occur, and I do believe that both America and humanity now have a fighting chance. So congratulations.
Definitely. Well, Rob Kirby, thank you so much for joining us today on this very historic day.
My pleasure being with you.
This video was brought to you in part by ReluctantPreppers.com. Click here to watch Reluctant Prepper's latest interview with Murray Nye, CEO of Winston Gold Corp. In this interview, Murray Nye explains how gold miners can outsmart price suppression.